Okay, so you come to File, New Project, say select Java application, just like your normal Java. The only thing you do now is uncheck this guy. Don't create a main class. Okay, that's the only thing you do. So you can just give a name. So when you give a name now, let's just say GUI sample, GUI sample. Okay, and you click on finish. Now when you click on finish here now, it's going to create the GUI sample. But the source package now, another thing again you should pay attention to is this. These are all my projects right now. You understand? And but the one I'm working on now, the one I just created now is just this is UI sample. So now in this UI sample now we have our library, just like let me use the one we did yesterday. Okay, we have different library packages and the rest, and we have the source package. We have, you see what's common now is the source package and library here. Now, if I open the source package now, there is no package here. But if I open the source package now, you see package RAX1. Okay, and this will have a Java file on it. So if I open this guy now, you're going to see the name of the package RAX, which is this package name. Then uh, every other thing we wrote that yesterday was inside. Okay, but this time around now, what we are going to do is we don't have package here because assuming we did that create main class, it automatically creates the package and creates the main class. That's this main class that we have here now. Okay, but since we didn't do that here, we don't have a package. Okay, so we'll manually create a package. Now the package now you can see the package as you are seeing like something like let's say a group of files. Okay, let's just see it that way. So now that means the group of files now you can categorize the type of files that you have on the project. You understand? Like for instance now, if I have my images now, I can create a package for images where all the images will be stored. I can create a package for the form where all the forms will be stored. I can create package for different things on the project, on that same project. Like for instance, now since we are dealing with GUI, we're going to create a lot of forms. So what I will do now is just I will simply create right click on this and say new Java package. Okay, so new Java package. Now click on new Java package. Let me call it forms. Okay, of the ones we will create with form. Already we are on GUI sample project. Okay, and the location where it's stored is this source package. You understand? So assuming you want to change location, but currently we don't have really that source package that will be there. So automatically we'll have a package for form as it is like this now. You understand? So if you want to create, you can create multiple packages if you want to. Let's say for images, just like what I said now. Okay. So it's still inside the GUI project. It's a different packages. You understand? So this one now is not like this one that was created for you manually. This array X. Okay. Now why the color is different now is because this array X has a content, but these guys are empty. You understand? So the first thing we're going to do is we are going to create, let's create a form on it. Okay, let's just create a sample form. Okay, so I right click and click on new. Now I have different types of form. I have JFrame form, I have JDialog form, I have JPanel form. A lot of these three that I just said now, they are kind of forms that we can create. But the main one I like working with as your main form in the project is JFrame form. Okay, so JDialog, most times JDialog, use JDialog for dialog boxes if you want to do something that involve dialog boxes on the project. This one now is not like just programming now, it's just like you're building a software here now. It's not just the programming aspect only. Okay, so let me just create a JFrame form. Okay, so now let me call this form. Let's just say, let me call it uh, FRM main. Okay, that's my form main. Okay, so that's the name I called it. Now It's asking me which package am I storing it into. You can see if I click here now, you see the two packages that I've created. But this one I'm storing into form because it's a form. So I click on finish. When I click on finish, see the color I've changed. And now I have a form on it. Okay. Not really right only. I'm going to design a program, a software here now. Both the interface, both the program, everything. Okay. So this is the form main now. I can as well add another JFrame form. I can say, let's say, uh, let's say this one is uh, okay. Let's say from Factorial. Okay, from Factorial. Okay, now what I want to do is, let's say we're creating different forms to solve different problems. We'll use this one to create a factorial problem. Okay, so when I click on finish like this now, and I have another form from factorial, I have from main, I have from factorial. You understand? So if you watch now, I have this the from main. Now inside each of these form now, this is the design. This interface you're seeing now is the UI, that's the user interface, what the user will see if the user is using your software. Okay, like for instance now, this you see swing containers, all these swing controls, swing menus, swing, all this everything here now inside this palette, okay, are like controls that you can add to the form. For instance now, I can look for a button, this button, I can click on this and add a button on the form. Okay, so when I click on the button now, the button is added to the form. So as the button is added to, I can click on the label, add the label to the form. Understand? Yeah. So anything you want to add, any control you want to add, all these ones that have, you can expand them. Understand? You can reduce the this thing. You understand? So that is it. So any control you want now, you see it there. Okay. And apart from this now, each of these selected control have a property. These are their properties. This is where you can change how they look, the content, and some stuff about. Let's say you want to change color and do all those things. This is where, just like you're designing graphics, you understand. So, like for instance, this label now, let's just say I come to test. This test now you're seeing here now is what is appearing on it. So if I change this guy, uh, let's say GUI sample application or app. Okay, hit enter. See it has changed. Okay, so I can still do, let's say the font. Can increase the font. Let's say make it bold, increase the size. Click OK. Okay, so it can be like this. You can still change the foreground, which is the color, if you wish to. Select any color of your choice. Blue is my favorite color, so I'll use blue for it. Okay, I don't find anybody. Okay, so now then this button, the same thing, I can double click on it and sorry, uh, let's control Z. Okay. Mm, okay, it's gone. So now I can click on this and click on it again. I think it's supposed to uh, supposed to highlight the inside like this. The same thing like you want to type in it, but this one now you are doing it directly on the button. So I can do something like uh, let's say solve factorial. Automatically see the text here. Change from I changed it from here. So it's Just the same thing. You can start to change from properties. You can start to change from here, but better you come to the properties to change them. Okay. So I can also change the font. Let's say 14 this time around. So solve factorial. So this is my simple application. I can add more buttons like okay, let me just use Ctrl C, Ctrl V. I just copy and paste. Okay, then I change the title, the text in it rather. Let's say I say this one will solve. Uh, let's say this one will solve combination. Okay, combination. Okay, so increase it. Okay, and then another thing again I can do is I can make use of a panel. I can just click on a panel so that the whole thing can be in order. So when I put a panel now, I'll now put all these guys inside the panel. So they will now be like children inside the panel. You understand? So that the panel will just be adjusted by the form itself. Okay? You see how it's auto adjusting. So you can adjust this and adjust this. So with this now, all the menu will just be inside the panel. Now adjust the panel on the parent, which is this bigger form. So can I can have several buttons on it like this. Okay. So if you run this app now, if I save and I run the app, if I'm running it for the first time, it's going to ask me which of the forms am I going to use as my main. Remember, we removed that set main class when we were creating it. So it will now ask you which one you want to use as your main class. Okay, let's use this for main. Okay, when you select the for main, simply click OK. And when you click OK, it automatically gives you the GUI form like this. Okay, so you can close it. So when we close it, it stops running. You look at from your output telling you be successful. You know this is what you normally get when your program is terminated. So that is it. So this is just a sample application. We can even have an image. Let's say in this image uh, uh, package now. Let me look for a small image and let's see. So I've saved the image now. So I'll simply go and browse the image. Now this is the image now. If I cut this image, let's say my Control X here, then I'll go to where my Java application is. That's my main projects. Go to GUI samples. Go to source. I'll see my packages. Okay. So I open the image and I paste it here. So when I paste this here, I refresh, it's there, and then we'll go back to our Java program. You see our image now have something. So look at it now, we have image here. So what we can do is we can use maybe a label, can use a label, but displaying image here is usually kind of maybe difficult. Let me see. So it's a label here. I will expand the label. Okay. So I have two things here now. I have the panel and the label. Okay. So on this label, I'll first of all remove the text in it. Okay. Now when I remove the text in it, I will simply go to icon. Okay. So when I click on this small image on the icon, to tell me to select image within the project. So I'll go to my image package and select my file. Okay. Immediately I open the image package. The file will be inside all the files. I have multiple files. All of them will be here. Okay. So when I select the file, simply click OK. and I have the image here. Okay. Then I think there's a way I could also align it. Okay, let me leave alignment for now. So what I'll do is, because I didn't trim the images, okay, I didn't trim the image rather, I can simply just make this guy white foreground. That's the label that I used it on. So the, sorry, not foreground, the background. Okay, can just make the background white. Okay, background white. Okay, then change its color. Okay, let me just make it, let me do it like this. Then change color. So you can use this guy like this. So if you run the application, you might have simple app like this. Okay. So I can still make it look, maybe when you run the application, let it, instead of starting here, let's start at the middle. Okay, so what I will simply do is I'll come to my application, make sure I select the form, that is the J frame form, and I'll go to codes. Okay, and when I go to codes, now this code, anything in the code here is where you have to put some properties that will enable you work with that object or that control in your code aspect. Okay, there's something I did show you. Now, if you check here too, you see source here. Source, this is where all your code all the code will be right. You know, they are on this interface. You understand? Yes, this is where all the source code will be and the design will be. So you can switch between the source code and design here. Okay, so now if I want to do something that will affect code too, I'll simply go to the code part instead of property. Okay, but I'm going to show you we're going to try one thing out with that. Okay, so now here, the if you go to this form size policy, you simply just go to generate resize code, select this generate resize code, then you click on this, select this generate center. Okay, so when this generate center is selected, when you run the program, that particular form will start in the center. Okay, so start in the center. So the last thing I'll do now is I'll just kind of switch. Let's say when I click on any one of them, you should open the forms for me. Like I will have a factorial form. I'll have the combination form. Okay, so already we have factorial form, so we can create a combination form. But let's just work with factorial most of time. Okay, so for factorial, we already have factorial form. So if I double click on it, it's going to open, or I can switch with the tabs from here. Okay, so now for factorial, let's say we put a number, and when you put a number, you click on calculate, and it will tell you the factorial, what's the result of the, the factorial. Okay, so what we need now, we need an input box where the user will enter a number. No, this is, we're not just writing an AI program that will tell the user enter the system data box. Now we'll have an input that the user will have to enter the. So I will simply create a label here. Okay, I'll simply create a label. Now and the label, I'll switch back to my properties. Okay, then when I switch back to my properties, I'll simply say, um, let's say enter a number. Okay, so enter a number. And I'll simply um, test field, put a test field on that. So on this test field, that is where the user will enter the number. Okay. Then after which I will now have a button that will calculate the factorial. That means after the user enter the number, the user, when he clicks on the button, calculate the factorial. Then the result of the factorial, we have to put it on this label at the bottom here. Okay, so that is form design. Okay, so let me adjust this guys a little bit. Adjust this a little bit. Adjust this a little bit. So I have just a small form like this. Okay. So now enter a number we've added the test. Here for this test field, we don't need the test on it. The user will have to enter something on it. So we just have to remove the whole test from it. And here now we'll have to add maybe on the test, we can just say solve. Okay. And here we also don't need a test for it because it will be the results. Yes. Okay. So the only thing we'll need, let's say we can add maybe 0.000 on it. Factorial. Factorial is usually integer, right? Yes, supposed to be integer. So let's just say 0. Okay. So adding 0 to it now, we can increase the fonts so that we'll see, make it bold, increase it, let's say 18. Okay. So the result will just be there. You can as well work on this and even this. Okay. Let's just make them bold. Let's say 14. Okay. So with this our form is set. Okay. So but before we come here now, we want a situation whereby if you click on this solve factorial, it will take you to this form. Okay. Now that is what we call an event driven program. Okay. Now, in your program, whenever you're talking about software development now, like I said earlier, it's not just the programming aspects now. There are a lot of things that you now have to put into consideration. Okay. Now, things that you put into consideration is mainly things that the user, the person that is using your software, will do as the is using the software now. What are the likely things that that user will do? Okay. Now, those things that the user will do now are known as events. Like for instance, as the user is using your software, user will move mouse, click mouse, will type. I don't know if you understand. Ehen. So all those things that the user will do now are known as events. Okay. So when you are building software, majorly a software that involves a graphical user interface as GUI is usually an event-driven program. That is to say, it monitors the events of the user and acts according to those events. Okay. So now, uh, considering that now, we have to place an event listener on this button. The event listener will have to check the button and know when they click on the button. So when on click of this button, let it go to this form factorial. Okay. So how do we add that event, or how do we add the event listener to it now? We simply select the form. If the button, the first thing we'll do is to give it a name. Okay. Now I told you that anything that relates to code, because for us to manipulate that, we have to do our programming now. We've designed our UI. So it's time to go to coding aspects of it. So we have to go to the code part here. And on the code part, we're going to see the variable name, which is jbutton1. Currently, by default, that's what the program gives to it. Okay, but you can give it your own name. Let me call it button, that's btn factorial, for instance, or fact. Okay, this automatically becomes the name of the this button. So anytime I want to make reference to this button, I'll simply call it by this name I gave to it. So same thing applies to this. You can give this one btn combination, okay, or btn com. Okay, let me add b to it. Btn com. Okay, so this is just it. So now that I have given them name, now how do I add the event to it now? I'll simply go to event here. If I go to event here, you are going to see different events. Okay, so you are going to see one of the events is mouse clicked. Okay, so on mouse clicked, it's a mouse click. What do you want to do? Okay, so this is where you now write the code. What you want to do. Okay, for instance, now if I say I just want to, let's say Let's use our normal Java code that we know. Let's say system.out dot print something. Okay, dot print something. Let's just print. Let's say hello. Okay, these are codes you're familiar with, for instance. Okay, so if I run this program now, look at it now. If I click here to be printing hello, on click of this button, print something. You understand? So anything you want it to do, you just simply do it here. You understand? But it's not really print we want to print here now. So have I stopped it? Okay. So what we need to do is to open up this guy. So for us to open up this guy, we're going to create a new object of this guy. You see the reason why we need to really understand OOP very well. This guy now, we can handle this guy like as if he's a new, as if it's a class, just like your scanner. Okay, so we'll simply say, let's say the name of that guy is FRM Factorial. Okay, okay, FRM Factorial. I will simply give it maybe an object. The object I will create now. Let me just call it a Factorial fact form, for instance. This is just a name. You can give any name of your choice. Okay, is equal to new FRM Factorial. Okay, imagine. See, just like the scanner, that's similar thing we do with scanner. That's the same thing. But this guy now, instead of scanner, we're using this this form now. Okay, so this form now will be used as this object here. Okay, just like in scanner where we put input or we put accept here, it is that accept that we now use. Okay, to assume that that thing now have all the features of this guy now. So we'll now simply call this guy now and say uh, fact form. Okay, dot show dot show equals true. Okay, okay. So when we say dot show equals true now, look at what we now have here. It now shows up. Okay, so we can still make it show on top of, as in kind of show in the center of our form. So that one now we have to come here, select the form itself, that is jfree form, then go to our code, generate resize code and generate center. So if we run the program again and we click on this, it's going to open here at the center. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do now is just to put a number, click on solve, and it will solve the puzzle. That's factorial. Okay, so how do we do that now? We have to, uh, okay, so let me stop this first.